guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Was a little bit stressful this morning. Munson here. Hola, bon dia, alegria. How are you? I'm here with the Good Morning Portugal show, podcast and live stream. Raquel is waiting. I was hoping to have a seamless start and for her not to even notice that I've been swapping out cables, checking if the bill's been paid, all those sorts of things to make sure we had a show for you this morning. And thank you, everybody, for chatting among yourselves this morning. Thank you very much, Coach Turner, who's here with. I think maybe I've lost some comments as well in the hurly-burly that's occurred this morning. But T-Duck is here, Antonio F, Matty, Pete. Raquel's waiting to join us. We got Lord Gilchrist as well. All just been gathering around like a pub that's waiting to open, standing outside in the cold, rubbing their hands together, breaking up old furniture, setting it alight and keeping warm until things change. And they have changed. Here I am, sat in the front room. I've got natural light coming in through the patio windows. And let's get on with it, shall we? Martha's here as well. Thank you for sharing this. But how do I visit Portugal? Good things happening. I think you probably need to book a plane ticket, Martha, but can we help you? Can we be more specific than that? It is Ask Anything About Portugal. Wednesday, we've got Raquel from Lighthouse Consulting with us, who actually, I'm thinking who will join us a little bit later on. It's already 9 o'clock. Time flies when you can't connect to the internet. So I'll bring her on in just a moment. Jim's here. Owen's here. A lot of these names and faces here, I'm looking forward to seeing at the meetup as well. So it's going to be a lovely, busy meetup on the Silver Coast. I'm going to have a shower before then. Not only does time fly when you're trying to reconnect to the internet, but one feels a little bit hot. And it's only 2 degrees at the moment. But to me, a bit like, how there can be a wind chill. I've got an internet outage fever burning right now, which is making it feel like it's about 30 degrees in this room right now. But anyway, let's bring her onto the screen. I haven't got a round of applause. I'm just going to have to do it in the old-fashioned way.
I'll join in.
Oh, yes, thank you. If you could provide your own applause this morning. We're nowhere near the desk upstairs. How are you today, Raquel? Well, what a morning it's been so far.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show that whatever happens to you, it's the way you approach the obstacles that come your way. And Carl, you overcame that this hurdle, and it's fine. We're online now. You look great. So everything's fine.
I needn't have said anything, right?
Nothing.
What I've got a laptop. I took one of the kids' headsets with this nice USB connection.
See?
I'm sat at the dining table. There's paperwork all over it from yesterday. Yeah, and I'm on my phone hotspot, so all is well. Steven will be joining us as well at 9:30. Yeah, we made it happen. And I think you're absolutely right. It ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it, right?
Yeah, so for sure.
Can we together catch up with a few comments this morning?
Yes.
Hello, tech support. Have you tried turning it off and back on again? Yes, believe me, that was one of my first go-tos this morning. Perhaps we can start with the dad jokes. Is this like a dad tech joke? Is it plugged in and switched on? It is now. Morning all from Coach Turner. Indeed, Thunder. Smash the on-off button. Yes, very funny, everybody. Well, I don't think it's the Wi-Fi, as he was able to post in chair. So that's it. That's been the weirdest thing this morning. I've been able to communicate, but I haven't had I wasn't able to put myself from the green room onto my own broadcast screen. It's been so bizarre. He probably posted from his phone. No, I was posting from the computer I was trying to use to broadcast from this morning. Very, very strange indeed. We shall see what happens a little bit later on. When I look into this, there'll be a thorough investigation after the show. Oh, this could be it. StreamYard is upset with Carl's mankini pics. I didn't know that was a thing, but I may have got a strike from the fashion police. Well, you've all had a lot of fun this morning. What's this one? I've also not got a mouse. I'm using my mouse pad here on the top. Wait, I just heard a flush. He should be here soon. Ew. Yes, quite right, Portuguese. Too much information. That's right. No matter what's this, no matter Andy, if it was cell phone, he could turn that hotspot in case there are issues with his home internet. That's difficult in a mankini. Perhaps those are two not connected. Perhaps they're not. Okay. I think it's time to move on. I'll keep an eye on these very amusing comments. Thank you very much. T-Duck, if you could repost the earlier stuff, I'd be most grateful, because I'm on a new computer. I've relogged in after you posted them, and I think they're basically all lost to me. Let's find out how Raquel's doing. You're here, of course, Raquel, because it's Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday, and you're here to, I mean, you're an all-rounder. You know, you're a Portuguese person. You work in the business world. You help other businesses, but you can really answer any questions about Portuguese life, right? If anyone has them.
Yes, I have 45 years experience in being Portuguese and living here, so you know.
Yes, that's 9 times as much as me, and probably more than a lot of us put together here. So
Yeah. I know I'm old, Carl. Thank you.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm already in enough trouble this morning without saying silly things like
That's
that.
Fine.
You're part of a really popular, one of our most popular videos, which was when the Golden Visa got killed. It was quite a clickbaity title, but
yes.
I think there is a little bit of a shake-up in confidence for people thinking about moving to Portugal. So, you know, everyone was watching and clicking on that video. You know, is it still a good place to come? I made this point and asked that question last night. You know, with global uncertainty, let alone some of the problems that the government might be causing for themselves here, is Portugal still a good place to come? I think it is. I think you would agree. What's your view a couple of weeks on from that very popular video?
I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, regardless of, Golden Visa was a good way in, an easy way in, an expensive one. But that's not at all the only way to get to come into Portugal. There are so many different options. You can open companies here. You can have your business here. You can have a labor contract here and come here. So the fact that the Golden Visa got killed, I don't think. Of course, it hurts. I think it's more of a reputation thing and more of something that will create some uncertainty and lack of confidence, probably, but certainly not. If you look at the numbers, it's not the main way that people get here, not at all. So I think people will still come here, families will still come here, businesses will still be transferred here, and people still start work here. And that has nothing to do with the Golden Visa. The Golden Visa is okay for a certain type of people, for certain types of investors, or that specific types of investments that I would like for them to continue to come to Portugal, but fine. But it's nowhere near the better or the most used way to come here to Portugal. And in spite of that, I mean, we're still on the top 3 of the safest countries in the world. We have great healthcare system, and I know it has its issues, but it's still one of the best healthcare systems all around, especially financially speaking, because we all have the right to it, and the social security as well. It's super safe. The weather is nice, so you can have, you know, for such a small country, we have mountains, we have deserts, we have beach, we have snow, we have forests. So I think it's really a matter of whoever really wants to come here for the right reasons will still continue to do that. And this is, of course, still the greatest country.
Well, hey, well said. Thank you for that. And I think it is worth reiterating that point. And that is specifically to do with, I think, the self-created problems of the government here with how they've handled this new proposed legislation. Then, of course, we've got the macro picture, haven't we, at the moment? An uncertain world. And of course, that has an effect on everybody and every country around the world. So when we're looking at Portugal's position as an attractive place to come to, that is a relative thing. Unless, I think we've said many times here, no place is perfect, but some are better than others. And I think from what you've just said, we can deduce that Portugal is certainly relatively better than a lot of other places to live in and to come to. Viva Portugal! On that note, says T-Duck. And the elephant in the room at the moment, of course, talking about global uncertainty, is this Silicon Valley bank business. You just sat back in your chair there, Raquel.
Yes, because I've lived through this because I was in the banking industry for 20 years. So I lived.
Tell us about it. Tell us what's going on.
So I lived the 2007 crisis. I lived the Lehman Brothers. I lived the Madoff crisis. So this was all very close to home.
Wow.
What I can say is, from my perspective, and having lived through it, because I've been in the banking industry since 2002 or 3 or something like that, is that now we are in a completely different place than what we were 20 years ago or 15 years ago or 10 years ago. So the lessons that all the industry learned from that time, in terms of a robustness of the capital of the banks, of the guarantees, of the collaterals, of everything like that, there were very, very strong demands made on the banks for their balances and their operations. And I think that today it's a completely different situation than 2007, than Lehman's or Madoff, which was a different kind of issue, but certainly from Lehman. So I think the financial industry and the financial entities are much, much more robust now, certainly, than they were a few years ago. So the demands in terms of being able to function, in terms of risk management, in terms of balance, in terms of assets that the banks own, in terms of loans that they can provide, it's a completely different situation. And the proof of that is that in 2007, I mean, I remember where I was. It's like a traumatic response, I remember where I was when we got the news of Lehman, and we were all like, "What's happening? What's happening?" Yeah. And now I think there's an ease and a confidence that we can say that yes, I mean, up to 100K, we all have our deposits assured. Today, it's not. I mean, it's a crisis, of course, but it's not like unheard of to have 3 banks or 1 or 2 banks or whatever file for bankruptcy, because now you know that that's the best scenario moving forward. It's best to leave those 2 or 3 to fall and to maintain the stability and the integrity of the whole market. Whereas in 2007, that was the big issue. Shall we save these big banks and Fannie Mae's and all of that stuff, or are they too big to fail? It was the line at the time. And I think from then to now, we have been putting on safeguards along the way in the United States and certainly in Europe, which is the system that I know much closer, of course, to have the integrity of the market safeguarded. So I am not at all afraid of going to the bank and not having the money that I wish I had there, but to have access to that kind of money. Whereas 20 years ago, that was a real issue. That was a real question. And so even in Portugal, I think there was a cleansing movement for certainly a lot of banks that weren't functioning in the best ways. And so today, I think that the entities that you do have as players in the market are incredibly safe and incredibly secure. And the same in the European market. And now I think that in the United States, they're finally not afraid to let those banks fall. And they still have those safeguards concerning the deposits of the people. And finally, they're not afraid to tell the shareholders of those banks tough it, tough luck. You lost the money, but it's better to say to the shareholders of those banks, you lost your investment money, than to say to the people that are the depositants, you gave your money away to be put away and now you don't have access to it. So I think we're in a much healthier space right now, and I hope, and we're much more resilient as well, because we've been through COVID, we survived. We've been through war. We're still going through war. We're still here. So I think in perspective, I mean, this doesn't seem like it's that much of a big deal, in the sense that the taxpayers' money won't get involved, the depositants' money won't get involved, and investors lose their money.
So the contagion's the wrong word, isn't it? That's when it really does go wrong. The error, I suppose, the poor judgment of the people running the bank is limited. From what you're saying, and thank you for that excellent analysis from your point of view. And sorry to take you back. I'm sorry this whole thing has taken you back to the difficult days of 2007, but you're saying a line has been drawn now, so it's best now for governments to say, well, that's a private business, they messed up, we're not bailing it out, so no bailout. With the insurance scheme, does that come from the banking industry itself? Is that or is that a kind of backdoor bailout if people's deposits are covered up to a certain amount?
No, it's something that there are in several jurisdictions, certainly in the European community and the United States as well. So it's all the banks contribute to a greatest fund, and this great fund will allow for the guarantee up until the 100K deposit in any bank. So only if there was like a global collapse of all the banks would that guarantee be at stake, which won't be the case, of course. Okay, so that was put in place. It can function like a kind of insurance, yes, but what it says is that all the banks contribute to it. Okay, it's like a collective effort from the industry. And what it says is that in case one bank collapses and it's not able to give back the deposit money for its clients, then up until 100K, this fund will provide those funds for the client. So that's why we say that it's guaranteed, because it's not guaranteed by the bank itself that it's probably going broke, but there's a fund that will guarantee that deposit. And this was put in place. Go ahead, Carl.
No, I always remember this in British banks. There'd be a little sign on the desk. Your deposit is insured up to this level. And I guess that's the point, isn't it? If you're risk averse, that's a very important threshold. And people who are in it way over their heads were probably investing a lot more than that minimum amount, which was insured to be returned to them in the case of a difficulty.
And Carl, listen, not only have been safeguards put in place for the banks, but you have MiFID, which is a very huge changing directive for financial markets that also put into place loads of safeguards for the consumers. So you have to, when a client wants to invest in something, the banks are mandatorily will have to make a test to that person to see if that person is able to invest, if that person is knowledgeable enough to invest, where that person can invest. And then you have like disclaimers, and then you have to declare, yes, I know what I'm doing, or no, I don't know what I'm doing, but I still want to invest anyway. There are safeguards in place, like to the amount of the proportion of your whole assets that you can invest. So now there's a lot of, we've come into, certainly when I was there, I think that it was almost to overboard degree. It's almost like you're carrying the clients on their lap, because it's like, I'll know what you can invest in, because take care, you won't be able to invest in anything. So we'll have to test your knowledge. You will have to declare what you know or what you don't know. You'll have to declare the amount of the investment that you want to make, and I'll make sure that it's not all of your money that you have. You still have to declare, you still have to, at one point, people had to write with their own hand, yes, I understand that I am investing in it. So
Yes.
there were a number of circumstances and a number of demands that were put in place, and in the right way. Of course, sometimes this goes overboard, but then, the system balances it out. But I think in conjunction, all of this, because when we had the Bash scandal, so the which is now the North Bank, there were loads of people that just had put all of their money, all of their savings into one bank at the time, and before of that with other banks as well. And I think now the perception and the literacy, financial literacy of people is much, much better, because now I don't think there are a lot of people that don't have the idea that if you do have more than 100K, you should have different accounts. I don't think there's anyone that doesn't know that if you do want to invest, take care. Don't put it on stock or diverse your investment. You have investment funds, you have bonds, you have shares, and then you have warrants. So there's a whole spectrum of instruments that you can invest on with different degrees of risk. And also from the part of the banks, there was training. There was a lot of training, the mandatory training for all the personnel. I think everybody is much better equipped to counsel the clients and to make sure that the clients know what they're doing.
Yes. Okay. Well said. Thank you. I'm so glad we've got somebody from the banking industry or from the banking industry here to talk about it this morning. Facebook user says, apply your savings into real estate. Well, that's a good timing because we've got Steven Whyte joining us in about 10 minutes and earn passive income through renting to many who will be choosing to live here. Just a thought, says Facebook user there. And I'm sure Steven will have things to say about that. Leverage your bank deposits to purchase property. Why not? And we'll find out how easy or not that is, and some very interesting ideas about how to do that. Because when the three of us got together last time, that was fantastic. Talking between the three of us, me, Raquel from Lighthouse Consulting, who's here with us now, and Steven Whyte as well, who I think both of you as well have been busy helping people in all sorts of ways. Steven was on a webinar last night, which sadly I missed, but he'll tell us about that, and I'm sure there are more to come in the future. You too, Raquel, have been helping people with a new business club aimed at women entrepreneurs, but it's open to everyone as well. Let's talk about that in just a moment, because we've got some fantastic comments coming in as a result of what you've been saying this morning, which is great. 2 to 3 US banks fail in the US every year. This is not really a crisis. They are unique circumstances surrounding the Silicon Valley Bank. They scoffed at usual banking practices and thought they could do it better. Well, turns out they ended up with financial egg on their faces and seemed to cause pain among their customers as well. This is a nice comment going back to whether Portugal remains a fabulous place to come. We're doing our best to help with that little knock to confidence that might be reverberating around the world. Bom dia, everyone. Greetings from the Minho, Portugal. Don't come to Portugal if you don't want to fall in love. It's so true, isn't it? Fantastic. Crypto, is it still a thing? I don't know how much you have to say about this and whether you would have that as part of the portfolio diversification you were talking about, Raquel. But it went up 10% yesterday, didn't it? Was that a direct result of the banking wobbliness?
Well, those three banks, curiously, were the go-to for the crypto industry, not only in Silicon Valley industry, but all around. So they were a few of the banks that did service the crypto industry. And so it's going to be interesting to see now where they can resort to, because I don't think there are a lot of maybe it will force the mainstream banks to open their eyes. I mean, I'm big on crypto because I've helped create a company for an NFT platform that's on launch now, and so I had to learn a lot of things about crypto, and it's a very interesting thing. And I think I was in a webinar as well about crypto before last summer, and I was a speaker there. And I think this is the future, whether a lot of people will want to face it off or not. I think it's a great opportunity for democracy in the financial world, because as much as we are talking about here about the banking industry, the fact is that not a lot of people have access to the financial world and to lendings and to all of that sort of stuff. So I think that the DeFi movement is very important because of the transparency of the blockchain. I think that's one of the major things.
What is DeFi? Is that definancialization?
Decentralized finance, yes.
Okay, I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that.
It's like taking it's a structure of financial structures that you have on crypto, like exchanges and being able to buy stuff and being able to even borrow money right now from the crypto world, but without the existence of the fiat banks. And that is a real access to financial structure from everyone. And it's very important because not everybody has access to good banks. Not everybody has access to a good bank account. So I think it's going to be, it's certainly, if not the major part of the financial world living, certainly a huge part of the financial world.
That is music to my ears, because when you were talking earlier on, as somebody formerly of the banking world, I was thinking, Raquel, she's got a great insight about the banking world, and that is your mindset. That's what you kind of grew up in career-wise, and you have a great understanding of it, and you're able to speak about it. And there aren't many people, I think, from that space who've grown up with that, who can actually say what you've just said. What about the unbanked? What about all the other people who can't get a bank account? And I had quite a few conversations yesterday actually about not specifically about cryptocurrency, but this bigger picture that we're talking about this morning, and the beauty of the blockchain, which you have just remarked upon. There is I found a documentary now. It's by a guy called Manuel Sagas, and he talks about exactly what you've talked about, and this incredible phenomenon going around the world where people with smartphones can do micro transactions using the blockchain in a way that the banking industry would have had no interest in them because they're not worth dealing with. And that was how it was, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and now they do. And they're not only do they have access, and there's a kind of equity going on, or an equality or a fairness in a social justice, if you like, for those people. What they're doing and the phenomenon that they're a part of is now a threat to legacy banking, isn't it? Because they're doing it in this new punky way and delivering a brand new solution for, let's face it, a much bigger number of people than were ever involved in our nice little privileged niche of banking.
Exactly. I had like an epiphany a few years ago. I think it was like 2015 or something like that. When I started to hear about crypto, I said, oh my God, I'm going to be out of my job in 5 years.
Yes.
Because, and I was inside the industry, man, they are gigantic beings, okay? It takes a lot of time to adjust. It's not to say it's nearly impossible to adjust to the speed of how things are changing nowadays. And people are not complacent with the lack of response to the consumer, not anymore. And if there are alternatives, I mean, this is a big deal for me, is that we don't all start on the same. We don't have all the level playing field. We don't have the same level playing field. God sakes.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, and I make it a point because this is, to me, doesn't make any sense. Why am I here when there's another woman 2 meters from me that didn't have the same opportunities that I did, and that doesn't get to experience the same kind of life that I do. So for me, it's very important to get out of my own head and get out of my own world and to realize that it is a mission of ours to be of service to the other people, because if we don't work together as one, I sound like a song. It's going to be. I just think it's our duty to do that. And the crypto emerged because of the lack of response of the big banks, the big white man dominated banks. Okay, and the world is not a white man. I mean, there's so much diversity, there's so much going on, that people just found a way to get answers, found a way to get a living. And I think that's the beauty of crypto. And on top of that is the crystal clear transparencies, the democratization of that instrument. I mean, it's beautiful. It's to not be at the hands of some 2 or 3 white men that dominate all the financial industry. So I think it's very, very, very important. And I think we have a duty to provide these services to everybody.
Yes, I didn't know we were having this conversation. I didn't know we were going to be having this conversation this morning about the democratization of money and finance and the beauty of the blockchain. Just one more thing before we bring Steven on, because I'm sure he'll have something to add and to make this debate even richer. It is amazing what the blockchain can bring, I think. And there is some sort of crypto bashing going on in the comments, which I understand. And the analogy I would offer is, it's a bit like the internet, isn't it? You can say, isn't the internet a beautiful thing? How it's connecting us like this. And then someone else could say that internet's a disgusting thing with all its pornography and its dark web and people ripping each other off from different sides of the world. It's a terrible thing. It should be shut down and it should be regulated by the government so that these terrible things can't happen. And that's how I feel about crypto and the blockchain. I totally resonate with what you're saying about the potential and beauty of it, and I think we really need it as well. I mean, that's my personal view. So thank you. I had no idea. I had no idea. It's how we use it, isn't it? It's how we use it that matters, and it's the same with banking. It's like, isn't it great that money can be made, and that you can give people money and they'll lend it to other people? That's a great idea in theory. But it's also got us in quite a lot of trouble, I think, with fractional lending, and only some of the people you talk about, just a few of those men who've got all the money. Just one more thing, as well as watching the blockchain documentary, do watch The Prince of the Yen, about how the Japanese banking industry was manipulated for decades. The leaders of the Japanese economy wanted to bring about structural change. They had a philosophy, which I think is right, that the only time change will come in society is through a crisis. We know this, don't we, from the last few years? So they just made a crisis. They gave people pain and hurt for decades until the people said, we're ready for a new system. And guess what? They had a new system ready. Let's bring on Steven Whyte. He's got a new system. We don't have the sound effects, Steven, so we're just going to give you a round of applause.
Clap.
How are you, mate?
Not bad, brother. How are you? Good morning, Raquel.
I'm fine now. We had some technical issues earlier on, but it's all behind us, and just battling on. We've managed to create an amazing debate with our wonderful Gumper audience here on Good Morning Portugal. Please keep your comments coming in. Steven, you're a busy man last night. Maybe if you tell us about your webinar, it'll give us an idea of what you're about, generally speaking.
Okay, so last night I try and host at least once a month an event where people can chat and talk and make sure that they, I guess, grow with their financial literacy towards real estate.
Right.
I'm teaching people everywhere from Sweden to Canada to Portugal, even Dubai. People are asking questions about how they can get involved in what they're doing, because I mean, Raquel said it the best earlier. You really have to have your money in all different places. And me personally, on a financial perspective, I don't like to keep my money in banks, or if I do, it's working for me. Do you understand? I put the money to work. I don't like to have it sit down, and inflation is too high at the moment for it to be just sitting in the bank at the moment. I keep trying to tell people, just put your money to work. With the money sitting in the bank, it doesn't gain its value. You know, it gains it. What's the interest rate these days? It's like 2%, 1% that you get in a high interest savings account.
Hi.
Hi.
Right, okay. I have no idea. Others may be able to comment on that.
The point I'm trying to get at is that if inflation is at 8 or 9%, and your bank is giving you 1 or 2%, where are we at here? And
is that one of those crises I was talking about? Maybe.
Yeah, I'd say so, and it's just one of those things where I try and tell people that, you know, if it's not maybe in real estate, put it into crypto. A lot of people don't know that you could purchase property with crypto in Portugal at the moment.
What? Well, as your collateral, is that it? So somebody said this to me a long time ago, that actually in many ways crypto would be as powerful as gold because you could borrow against it. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, system? So I'm not going to dive too deep into it because there's a whole bunch of things you got to get into, but Portugal is one of the few places in the world where you can actually purchase property using crypto. You just have to find the right real estate agent or developer who's open to accepting cryptocurrency and the payment for the property. But yeah, it is available. And once you found the property, just check with the seller or real estate agency to see if they accept, you know, cryptocurrency, because not every bank is going to do it, but it is available.
And you're talking about traditional institutions, or is this a kind of would-be unicorn system? It's traditional banks that might accept crypto as an asset.
Traditional banks.
My goodness, why is that? Why don't I know about that? Why don't most people know about that, Stephen? Is it because I'm lazy and financially illiterate?
I don't think it's because you're lazy or financially illiterate. I think it's just because they don't promote it. Why would the government give you a way to not pay taxes? Because with cryptocurrency, with purchasing crypto in Portugal, you don't pay taxes on it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. That well, for the time being, anyway, right? And I guess it's always the way. You've got to see that advantage as and when it's happening, because as soon as, if you like, and I don't mean this as a disrespect to anybody, but as soon as the herd or the majority get into that, it then does come to the attention of the government, who might say, "Hold on a minute. All these people aren't paying any tax. That's my wages being threatened. Sorry, that's public services being threatened. We need to do something about it." That's really interesting. What else were you telling people last night?
Last night I was pretty much explaining to people that, for example, joint ventures, we went over that a little bit on the last show that I was on here, where you're using the assets of someone else. So let's say Raquel had 100,000 euros to invest, and she knows that she's not insured in her bank to have anything more than that.
Maybe.
Let's say she wants to put her money to work. There's people like myself that would like to take that money and invest it into real estate for her. In exchange for my knowledge, my expertise, and my team, we could put this money into property and give her a 12% return every 6 months.
Okay,
if inflation is at 8, if inflation is at 8% per year, you're gaining financial here. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're trying to figure out other ways to put your money.
No,
I
get it. I get it, because what's happening for most people in an 8% inflation is that they're battling against that and actually losing money without getting out of bed in the morning, right? The assets that they have, or their spending power, let's call it their spending power that they have, has been diminished, hasn't it? If their wages haven't risen, they've actually got less to spend, even though they haven't had directly a pay cut. They have effectively had a pay cut because their money won't go as far. If you're offering something that goes a little bit beyond that as well, that's quite an unusual thing in even what we're calling at the moment. I think the economists call it deflation at the moment, don't they? With inflation coming down slightly, it sounds impressive that it's deflationary, but actually it's still people are at a great disadvantage. So you're offering something a lot better than they're just going to be undermined by standing still.
Exactly. Real estate has been proven to be one of the most reliable and consistent investment options over time. Most of it usually offering higher than average returns. And yeah, I personally believe in the fact that keeping money in the bank is, don't get me wrong, I still think that you should have some sort of money in the bank, for a rainy day. But if you have 100,000 euros in your bank account and it's just sitting there doing nothing, or let's say, for example, you have a home that you have inherited, people still don't leverage their homes in Portugal. I find it very strange from someone that's, from the Western world. This is very common. People leverage their homes, and let's say, for example, Raquel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Portuguese banks will allow you to refinance your home and take out a loan up to 60% of the value, correct?
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
So,
and if the evaluation changes, you can reevaluate it and have that changed, of course.
So that's exactly what I was stepping into here, right? So
Sorry.
this is what I'm trying to explain to people. Let's say, for example, you have a property that you inherited, and at the moment it's not in very good condition, but it's worth 100,000 euros. The bank will give you money to refurbish the property.
Mm-hmm.
Then let's say the value, once you're done refurbishing it, is worth 200,000 or 300,000. Maybe not immediately, but 6, 10, or maybe even 12 months from now, you can take that capital that, your property is worth, 200,000-300,000. You can take a loan up to 60% of the value of the home. Invest that into property. Invest that into crypto. I'm not saying, I'm not a financial advisor, by the way. I'm not trying to tell people where to put their money, but I'm trying to say, put your money to work. Make it work for you. There's so many options out there to make money through Amazon FBA, crypto, real estate, Forex. And that's just, the ones I'm in.
Hold on a minute. What are they? What are those? Can we go through those one by one? By the way, if you want to reach out to Steven, and as he said, we're not telling you what to do here. I almost find it embarrassing that we have to say that. We're not obliged to say it, but it does seem useful to say we're not telling you what to do. The Good Morning Portugal community is about sharing possibilities. There are some interesting possibilities being shared this morning. Do your own due diligence. You are responsible for your own life. And as T-Duck said earlier on, if the bank fails, it shouldn't be bailed out. It's capitalism. I'm kidding, but or maybe not. Steven, Raquel, myself, we're not telling you what to do. We're talking about possibilities, and that's why it's such an interesting conversation this morning. What is Amazon FBA?
So Amazon FBA, I want to say in a nutshell, for me personally, I gave a little bit of money to someone. They put it into an Amazon FBA. So they set up a warehouse. They do all the distribution. They set up the store. Essentially, you're opening a business through Amazon. You're using Amazon as your kind of ticket to make money.
Okay.
You're opening up a store through Amazon.
Yeah.
Some people, if right now, I'd say you need roughly around 85,000 euros to start one. But there are options out there where you can invest 85,000 euros and people are making that back within 6 months.
Okay, that's interesting.
The return on investment on some of these Amazon FBAs can be anywhere from 20 to 100% within a 6 to 10 month time frame.
Okay, so the possible dynamics there would be somebody with that sort of money but doesn't want to run a business could lend it to someone who does want to run a business, so that there's a person with time, there's an effort and energy, and there's a person with money, and then there's Amazon, and that triangle could make an enterprise together. Yeah,
so it's a fulfillment by Amazon. It's a program that allows sellers to send their products to Amazon warehouses. So essentially, you're becoming the Amazon warehouse through the process.
Yes. We've got a few questions. This is amazing. We'll maybe come to some of those other possibilities that you talked about there. There's a lot of stop here. He sounds like a grumpy old British guy. Oh, there's lots of bad stores on Amazon. He's the crypto basher as well, by the way. Of course there are. I mean, but we can't take from that, can we? That there isn't an opportunity, because I guess that there is financial literacy or illiteracy, and there's also this kind of aversion, isn't there, Stephen? That people just like sort of write. I don't think you're necessarily doing this, Andrew, but people can write off the whole thing like crypto's a rip-off. But clearly that's not true, is it? Some crypto is a rip-off, and you have to do your due diligence, and you have to become financially literate to see what the beautiful and profitable opportunity is within these things. But I guess, people are entitled to their opinions like this, aren't they? This sort of sentiment would be somebody who may be risk averse and might not want to go into what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's I like to put things like this. If there's anything I learned about being in management is that, or maybe I should put this in a different way. So there is an analogy that people like to say that strong live free.
Yeah.
So people that are, I guess, strong-willed usually live more of a freestyle kind of lifestyle. Or you can look at it in the sense Charles Darwin. I'm trying to remember the quote off the top of my head.
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest. Thank you.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to want to. I mean, the UK is kind of a prime example of this, where they give you the option to live off the government benefits and not do anything else. Do you understand what I mean? Some people would like to achieve higher expectations, and some people are okay with just maintaining, and that's okay. Yeah. That's okay with what you want to do. Me personally, I like fancy cars and nice watches. I like to.
You're that guy. Are you going to be sat on the bonnet of one of those cars on a gravel drive with a fountain behind you in a video?
In a bikini.
I'll join you. I'll bring my own. Excellent. Oh wow. Yeah. It's definitely horses for courses, isn't it? For some people, this is never going to fly. And there will always be the criticism, because I guess, this has come from another conversation we've been having recently. When people speak, and it seems to be speaking about something out there, they're actually just saying a lot about themselves, aren't they? And generally we all are. I mean, that's what's happening right now, isn't it? When we're speaking about things, we're actually exposing ourselves and what our values are and our approaches to life, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I anything else I need to put forward?
Yeah, definitely. We want to know more about what goes on in these webinars and how people can have a look if they are so attracted.
So I try and explain to people. I find a lot of people try and tell me that, for example, I had someone reach out to me and heckle me, saying that I'm ruining Portugal, and that foreigners are causing the issues with the property market at the moment, and they can't afford to live. So I started thinking to myself, what exactly is the issue here? What exactly is the problem that we need to look at here? And the biggest thing that I see is financial literacy. It's kind of an ongoing issue where people don't understand, even to open up a business in Portugal, to get one of the visas that, maybe someone applied for, you have to hire people in Portugal. You have to hire Portuguese people to work. You're going to need, I can't do everything by myself. I can't build these houses. I can't renovate these houses all by myself. I can't do my taxes. I can't go to a bank and I can't deposit my money for myself. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do totally understand that.
We're all a part of an ecosystem.
Yes, and how brave of you, I think, to even consider that question rather than just avoid it. It is an interesting question. I'm working on a project called the Portugal Immigrant Network, and I want a representation of people from all the nationalities, nation states, to be part of a conversation. and address questions like this. You're ruining Portugal, because if we don't talk about it, we won't get anywhere, will we? That will become an entrenched position, and maybe a lot of expats, immigrants, foreigners will feel embarrassed about that, walking around thinking, when's the next person going to say that to me? And the point, and I think the important thing is that we have an open discussion about that to find out if it's really true, and if it is really true, we do something about it. And if it's not really true, people can stop saying it, and it can be a little bit of both, I suspect. But how dare you come over here and want to share your financial literacy thing with people, such that maybe even some Portuguese people could benefit from that, Steven?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've been investing in Portugal for about 18 months now, and I've already retired 3 people under the age of 25.
Right. And you mean that in a good way. You don't mean
we're
gonna have to let.
I didn't retire them, but
not like the Clintons. Sorry, no. Did I just say you help them? You help them to have a successful and early retirement.
Exactly. So I developed a program where I teach people who don't generally have a lot of money to invest into property, get involved in property. So one of these ways is through rent to rent. This is very common in the UK, and it's very common in some other Western countries, where you rent a property and then you sublet the property to either students or professionals, or you put it on Airbnb.
Wow. Okay. And this is something people can be taught to do.
Yeah, so a lot of people think that subletting is illegal, but I want you to think about something. The Holiday Inn, Best Western, what's another big hotel? Most hotels,
Marriott.
The Marriott, they don't own the properties that they're in.
What?
They lease them.
Right.
They're commercial leases. Do you understand? It wasn't them that went out of their way to build the property. Why would they jump into an asset where they don't know if the market is going to go up or down? They want to be able to get out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that's right. And they do what they do best. They know how to run hotels. They don't necessarily know how to build buildings, do they?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Going back to some of the things you've already said. Any questions? This is Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday. Took some trouble to get on air this morning, and now I don't want to go, but we've only got 10 minutes left. We've got a busy day. Many of us are converging at the meetup on the Silver Coast here. I wish you two were there as well. Hopefully you will be one day. Is that 12% in 6 months guaranteed, asked Stephen, of your earlier proposition?
Mr. Stephen Wells, nothing in this life is guaranteed. Like any investment, there is risk.
Okay.
Not even life is guaranteed.
Your money in the bank isn't guaranteed.
As we've just discovered recently, and may continue to do so. Bon dia from Sarah as well. Good morning to you, Sarah Yeoman. SVB ran a 24-hour exchange which threatened the service that the Fed was slow to bring out. And just like 10% in China and the 2008 crisis, a few old men decided to eliminate the competition. Well, thank God for the blockchain then, and the sort of grassroots. Would you call what you do, Stephen, grassroots kind of people power? Financial literacy?
I've never thought about it that way. I just thought maybe I read a lot of books and watched a lot of YouTube. But
okay. If
you want to call it that, sure.
Well, it just, going back to what Raquel and I were talking about, the democratization. This is you are a challenge, aren't you, to the idea you've got to have money to make money. Only those who are born rich stay rich. You are challenging that, aren't you, as a basic premise and as a myth?
Yeah, I am, and it's not even so much challenging, but understanding that, let's say you go to a property investor meetup. You'll get a whole bunch of people that want to invest in property. You'll get 100 people showing up to the event. That puts you in the 10% alone of people that are actually trying to get ahead, okay? In that group of 100 people, 10% of that people will actually only do something. They'll go to, I like to, maybe I won't say that on air, but they're community hoppers. They're
tarts.
I guess course junkies.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's people. you'll get to that 10% of people, and only out of that 10% of people will actually do something about it. So
Yes.
it's really about maybe not that I'm standing out from everyone else, but maybe I'm just consistent with what I'm trying to move forward with.
Yeah, and then it's people like me who come up with sound bites about what you do. So I get that. You're being you. You're being you in the world, and I'm calling that challenging some of the myths that are about making money. Fiona here says, Fiona Worrell, I want to get into crypto, but I'm beyond confused with which, where, how. It hurts my head trying to make decisions around this with zero experience. So for people like Fiona who can see the appeal or want to learn more about crypto, about Amazon FBA, about financial literacy, what are the baby steps to take to help with this condition that Fiona finds herself in? I think both of you can answer that. Let's start with you first, Steven.
I would say the best thing to do right now is to find someone that is doing it. Do a joint venture. In exchange for your capital that you have ready to go, give someone your capital and have them teach you how to make money with it.
Marvelous. Get a mentor, apprentice to somebody.
Yeah.
Yep. What a brilliant response. Thank you. What do you say, Raquel, in terms of learning about these sorts of new ways of being? Because they are for some people, aren't they? We're not taught this at school, and it may not be in our family setup.
Of course, everything that's different and it's not mainstream, it's always much, much harder to get into. So I would say do your research calmly, do your research, learn about the terms, learn about the structure of what it is. And then if you feel comfortable, just set aside a small portion of whatever you have to just like blow away if it has to. Okay, so don't risk anything too much, but just have fun with a small percentage of whatever you own and then try it out. Because even if you lose it, it's just a small percentage. And whatever you can learn from it and whatever you can gain from it, it's so much more that it is worth that price of admission, if you will.
Yes. Well done. Thank you both on that. Going back to the refinancing in Portugal, all the mortgage people that have been on, and these are people I think it's mainly it's just a couple of people from a particular company, Steven, to be fair, but they said they don't do refinance. I think the emphasis there is on they don't do refinance. If you're a Portuguese mortgage owner, if that's the right way of putting it, if you've borrowed money from a Portuguese bank already, that's the way to get the refinance, isn't it? Is to ask your current lender. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did you want to add any more to that?
Maybe Raquel could touch on it a little bit more after I say something here. I will say a lot of people tell me that I can't do something, but there's always a way. Yeah, there's always a way around the situation.
I think you quite like that as well. Yeah, I think that's part of what lights you up, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got to Portugal, I had lots of real estate agents tell me that I can't buy and sell property for a profit. I had people that told me I can't rent property and then sublet it onto Airbnb. I've had people tell me that you can't refinance. But I've done it about 7 or 8 times now in the refinance process, and I have about 7 rent-to-rent properties where I either have these properties sublet out to students or professionals or on Airbnb. It's happening every day.
And that's more examples there of when people say you can't, what they mean is I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Raquel, did you want to add anything to that with the refinancing?
No, the refinance is completely doable, and take advantage of the increase in value of your properties, like because if you rehabilitate, if the market goes up and then your estate is worth more, you have to capitalize on that. Your asset is worth more. You can refinance. You can have that ratio, that little bit more of cash with the collateral, because the collateral goes up in value, so the banks will lend you more money. That's absolutely doable. A lot of people have been doing that with their property for the last 5 years because there's been a huge increase in price in the value of properties. Absolutely, it is doable. Find someone that will do that for you, or change your bank.
Yeah, or change your bank. That's right. Take some action and keep looking around. Steven, I think you're going to add something there.
Yeah, I was going to touch on the fact that I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I haven't been in Portugal long enough, but I seem to think that there's this idea that you always have to work with the same person.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that people are businesses, or the businesses that you're working with are businesses. If they're not offering you the thing that you would like to accomplish, find someone else that will.
Exactly.
You do not have to stay with the same agent. You do not have to stay with the same bank. You do not have to stay with the same tax person. You don't have to stay with the same investor. You don't have to stay with the same accountant. We're in a world today where even countries now are treated like businesses. You don't like the country you're in? Move.
Yeah.
Most places
Amazing.
either
Yep.
speak English, French, Spanish, Portuguese.
Yeah. Okay. I think you've addressed this both. This was Fiona's question, really, wasn't it? Where to start to become more financially literate? You've given great questions on that. We're coming up to the last minute. I have a request of both of you, and it's really probably a little bit naughty of me to do this, but can we make this a regular thing? Can we make this a monthly slot? Because
I would
there's
love
so
to.
much. Oh, thank you so much. There's so much
Sure.
value here that you've generated today. It's been such an exciting and I think important conversation. It's really important to know where you are in your life in terms of investing. Older people don't have the years to make up for the losses. Thank you for that input. And there are just a few more comments then before we finish today. Not sure, says hello, Global Nobles. Not sure if this has been asked, but what type of Amazon business have opportunities here in Europe and Portugal? Watch the replay to find out more about the Amazon system that Steven mentioned earlier on. And because both Raquel and Steven have agreed to come back on a monthly basis, we will continue this conversation. Housing is a complex issue. No question about that. Living in Portugal is a complex issue. But I guess you just got to, I don't know, have a strong cup of coffee in the morning and put your shoulder into it, haven't you? And have the sort of success that Steven is talking about here. Let's see, what else have we got? The only people I listen say that foreigners are bad for Portugal are foreigners themselves. Portugal loves foreigners, the warmth of the sunshine, and the Portuguese people await you. And it's not a conversation we're afraid of having. You know, I think that's the right way to go about this. We're ruining Portugal. Okay, tell me how. Tell me why. Is it true? Is it not true? Let's have the conversation. He did not whack them. When he said he retired them, they retired happily. They are now drinking cocktails on beaches somewhere. And what about Portuguese people? Well, Raquel is Portuguese. We have other Portuguese correspondents. We would be delighted to have more Portuguese people taking part in this conversation, as with all the other national identities, foreigners, immigrants. You know, we're getting to a point in Portugal where about 1 in 10 people is going to be foreign. And that's a complex issue. It's not just, you know, these are people from the former colonies as well. It's a complex picture. Mm-hmm. And again, let's have that conversation with those people.
Can I touch on that?
People. Please do, Steven.
If you're starting to see desire in something, you have an asset. Leverage your asset. Leverage Portugal. Leverage what you have in Portugal. So now the fact that more people are trying to get here, what are the issues that are coming about? Figure out what people are looking for, figure out what people need, figure out what's going on. I know for a fact that there's an issue with rental management companies out here. I had to create my own company to manage my rental properties. So let's say you started a business for someone that is looking to buy an investment. What do you have? A business.
Hold on a minute.
A cash flowing business at that.
So hold on. You came across a problem. It's like Victor Kayam. Back in the 70s, you used to use things. And he said, Victor Kayam, he was using his Remington shaver. I liked it so much, I bought the company. Now, if there's something you don't like, you start a company. And that's what you did, Steven, right? You saw the need. People running. Was it you that said when people are running away from something, run towards it? Was that you? It was you.
Yes, it was.
Okay. I'm not sure what you are meaning here, Victoria, but great to see you. Love and light, kids. Garda Jet, thanks for popping in, albeit briefly. And we've just got a few thanks to share with you. I know I'm keeping you over time. But I want to share people's gratitude and appreciation with you both. Thank you, Raquel and Steven and Carl this morning from Jim White this morning. And like the mindset. Thank you, Steven and Raquel. Let me add to that. Thank you very much indeed, both of you. I'm glad I asked you if you would join us again and make this a monthly thing, because we did this, I think, last week, and I was thinking I'll be cheeky and ask them to do it again in the morning because I think it's going to be fun. Turns out I was right. I should have monetized it. Okay. All right. Great recovery, Carl. Thank you for that acknowledgement as well. Great recovery, Carl. See you soon. Yeah, see you at lunchtime, mate. Raquel, thank you so much for being here. If people want to find out more about you and the new course, because we didn't get to talk about that, Lighthouse Consulting.pt. I will put that into the chat. Thank you, Steven. And we had the link to you as well. That was Home Miners, wasn't it, Steven?
Yes, www.homeminerspropertyinvestment.com.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure those links are in all the information that comes with these episodes. Whew, that's a lot to think about. Looking forward to hearing from them again. Obrigada. Can we give ourselves a nice round of applause? Because I haven't got the jingle. Well done, everybody. Thank you very much indeed. We'll see you at the meetup, or we'll see you in the morning when we talk to Veronica and Carl Hyde from Lisbon. Real estate again tomorrow. Let's talk to them about how we're ruining Portugal. Thank you so much, Steven. Thank you so much, Raquel. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.